This episode is brought to you by Jersey Garbage Can Cleaners. Tired of plugging your nose when you take out the trash? Jersey Garbage Can Cleaners does the dirty work for you. Their convenient curbside service helps you eliminate foul odors, prevent pests, roaches, critters, and rodents, and removes harmful bacteria. And they do this all at a super affordable rate. Call them today to schedule your cleaning before the warm weather hits. Welcome back to another episode of That Westfield Podcast. Today, we are joined by Hugo Alves of many businesses, but we'll start with Signature Realty and Prawdzik Properties. What's up, Hugo?
How are you today?
Oh man, I was super excited to meet you because after about an hour of talking, we found out we're from like the same hood. So
yes, from the same area.
It's always nice to meet people from the old neighborhood. So, but now you're here selling houses and building houses in Scotch Plains, Westfield, and not just any houses, but really, really cool, unique houses that literally had me stop and go, what is that? Who built this? I got to find whoever this is. And I found you. So
that's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah. So how'd you end up getting into all this? And I mean, first, I guess, tell me a little bit about your real estate experience and how you got hooked up with Signature. And then we'll go into the construction.
Yeah. I mean, so I started, I didn't always work real estate. I was in the customer service industry for 14 years with a Fortune 500 company. Things didn't work out. I decided to pursue my real estate career, really pushed by my wife. That really inspired me to go and do it. Started with a small boutique brokerage based out of Scotch Plains. And then one of my close friends was over at Signature Realty, linked up with him and never looked back, honestly.
Nice.
It's been a blessing, to make that transition and team up with Signature Realty, then team up with Prawdzik Properties and kind of fast forward 7 years, and here we are
sitting at that Westfield podcast. Yep. I love it. So, all right. So Signature Realty, I mean, everybody knows who they are. Everyone knows John and Michelle. They're kicking butt. Like they're building their new spot in Short Hills. So, they're, expanding and growing. So what's it like to be part of that team, and what's so special about it for you in particular?
Honestly, it's really inspiring. For a lot of people that don't know their story, I'm not going to divulge it. You can definitely look it up. They're definitely the epitome of nothing should stop you from doing what you want to do. When I joined the brokerage, I was agent like 26,
wow,
somewhere in that, under 30 agents. I was very boutique focused. Now we're planning on opening an office a year. We do have Short Hills lined up. There's also Red Bank, and we're going to continue to go. There's Ridgewood over in Bergen County, Somerset, Summit, Westfield, of course. So we're slowly growing, and I think a lot of people are attracted to that. Just because of the sense of community, the amount of training that goes in. And you can really tell that the leaders are solely focused on the individual improvement of the agents. And that's the biggest thing for us, right? It's not about running a brokerage that how much money can I make, is how can I impact people's lives. There's training on not only the real estate aspect, but there's financial trainings, there's individual trainings. They really set you up to be able to succeed, and it's all about you wanting to actually execute on that.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing for me, and it's really like a family because I started there when they were pretty small.
Right. Now it's really great when you're an entrepreneur like yourself, and you get to just be surrounded by other people who are just as hard in the game as you are. Right. Like you can't take that for granted ever.
No. I think it's very important to mind your. They say mind your business. What they mean is not in the sense of minding your own business. Like it's not your business. It means mind who your surroundings are, right? Who the people who you associate yourself with, because that'll kind of depict where your future is going.
Definitely.
So the better they are, the better you'll become.
So with that, you have this whole other team, this whole other thing that you do. So Prawdzik Properties, my bad. You guys build these really, really unique houses. So tell us about your team there and how you guys got started and the inspiration behind the types of houses that you build.
Sure. So Matt Prawdzik started the company, and he was probably about 6 months to a year in until I met him. We met on biggerpockets.com, which is an open forum.
Very cool.
For real estate. Great website for a lot of knowledge on there, and it connects a lot of individuals. And there's this whole story behind how we met. He had no profile picture. I couldn't pronounce his name. And he was trying to message me. And I'm like, oh, my God, there's this weird guy trying to message me. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
And I kind of ignored him because he was so willing to help. And I was kind of like, this is not normal for the world that we live in.
Right.
So
That's me, by the way. I'm always that person.
So I kind of stood back for a little bit, and then I was at my previous brokerage, and somebody kept mentioning his name, and I'm like, wait, what's Matt's last name? And they're like, Prawdzik. And I'm like, wait, I think I've interacted with this guy. So I'd reached out to him. He had been in the business for about a year at that time. And we went to go see a project. Our first project together was in Scotch Plains, on the border of Westfield. And honestly, when we started talking, it felt like I've known him forever. Like we hit the ground running, and it just felt natural. Like it didn't feel forced. I wasn't intimidated by him. He wasn't intimidated by me. We were both willing to kind of learn together, right? He was 6 months to a year ahead of me already. And then, that one started, and we kind of never looked back, honestly. It was kind of about, it was really about focused on quality. Because we were doing fewer projects, and not that that's changed, but we were really trying to build a name based on the quality that we were presenting at an affordable price.
Right.
What we would consider affordable.
Totally.
Because we recently did a podcast and we spoke about that. What's affordable in northern Jersey for new construction? And a lot of people had a lot of different opinions, but $800,000 to $1.2 million in Northeast Jersey for a new construction home. Relatively
especially
affordable.
For what you guys actually build. They're beautiful.
Yeah, so I mean,
really nice.
They didn't always come out that way, right? In terms of like the style, we went through the blues, we went through the grays,
right?
And then we ultimately,
everyone's so sick of it. Right?
Yeah, it was just like every house is blue, every house is gray, and we're like, you know what? Maybe we should try something different. And we started looking on Pinterest like everybody else does, looking at other builders, and we ran across this builder that's based out of Toronto, Canada. Mm-hmm. And the aesthetic was just extremely pleasing. And we're like, you know what? This is really cool. You don't see this very often in Jersey. And we're like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's go for an all black house, with some wood accents. Keep the interior, what we consider our style to be transitional, right? It has the traditional concept, but it has the modern finishes to it. So sharp, clean lines, nice trimmed walls, the blacks, the whites. And it allows people to come in and, for example, my home, it's all black and white. But then our furniture is going to have the greens, going to have the mustards, right? Because black and white goes with everything. We always felt, if you paint your walls gray, you're kind of stuck to adjusting your furniture to complement grays,
Definitely.
right? So that's kind of the base concept. And, I think we get a great reaction, just for you as an example, right? And we actually got a lot of recognition from companies like James Hardie, which is the Hardie company, for being one of the first all-black home in the Northeast.
Wow.
Right? So they reached out to us. We started some negotiations with them on the back end in terms of what we can do together in terms of marketing. But we're really excited. It was nice to get that attention from a major company like that, but even better when everybody's stopping to look at the home.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's crazy. The one in Scotch Plains, is it off South Ave? I think.
So we have two in Scotch.
I'm sorry,
Martin
Martin Ave. Yeah.
There's Fanwood, it's actually right across the street, Scotch Plains.
Right.
Fanwood, but the one on the corner of Park Avenue and Portland.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yes, we knew that one was going to be a big hit just because the amount of traffic that goes through there.
Right.
Then we did the one on Morse, which is right around the corner.
Okay.
But yeah, we got a ton of feedback, and it's for the most part all been positive.
Right.
Black's not for everybody, and
Totally.
that's okay. When people are buying our homes, because a lot of our homes do sell before.
Right.
Kind of hit the open market.
Right.
We allow people, like, listen, you don't like this side, no problem. Let's change it to what you prefer, right? Because at the end of the day, they're the buyers. But if we build it to completion, we want really the people to be able to drive by and be like, we know who built it.
Right. And even when there wasn't all the black and the white in some black in the wood, like you can still tell that it's your home. It's still very obvious, which is really cool. But I straight up, we drove past it and I was like, over on the block. I was like, I'm just like, what is this? Because it totally catches your eye, and you're like, and now, as people watch this, it's like, you're going to know that it's yours because you can't not see it.
Yeah, no, you can't.
And not in a bad, eyesore way, because it's elegant looking. Like, it's very nice, but it's darker, and you're like, oh, I just did not expect to see that. At first you think it's like a commercial building, and then you're like, oh shit, that's a house.
Yeah, a lot of people, when they originally see it, they're like, oh, I don't know, and they're like, let's just move forward, let's keep it, and then they love it at the end. So they really indulge in our vision, and it's exciting for us to know that we're making good decisions. Right. Meanwhile, it's a bunch of guys in a room trying to figure out how to design a home. Right. That's comical in itself.
For all guys, you do a pretty good job.
But that's the reality. We do have some help. We've had help over the years, but for the most part, Matt and myself, we have Alan, Erica, Alberto, or Beto as we call him. Everybody kind of chips in and offers their opinion on things to do. But listen, we're always picking up new things, whether it be from Pinterest, whether it be from, like I had mentioned to you, right? Like sometimes we'll go shop not our competition, because I always feel like there's enough for everybody, but we'll go see other people's homes, see, hey, what are you guys doing that's different, right? What can we implement? What can we change? How can we make ourselves better?
Totally. And I have a rule here on the podcast that, I don't bring on realtors or builders unless they have something really unique or special that they do, because there's so many, right? And I think that, when you do something really special for the community, that it's something that needs to be shared. So you guys do something that literally gave me goosebumps when you told me, because I, one, was not expecting it, but two, it just like made me really happy to hear about the way that you give back for every square foot that you guys build. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Yes. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be donating $1 for every square foot that we build in those specific towns, right? So
that's awesome.
If we're building a certain amount of square footage, I think slated currently for Scotch Plains as it stands, it'll be about 17,000 square feet we'll build in Scotch Plains this upcoming year. Wow. So, we're going to team up with the locals, and our goal, or my vision for those donations, is really to impact the kids in the school systems, right? Totally. Whether it be bringing additional programs, funding classrooms, things of that nature, because at the end of the day, you can pick a million different associations, right? You can pick St. Jude, nothing wrong with St. Jude. Right. Donated to St. Jude's for years, even in my previous company, but it doesn't impact the majority in the immediate community. So for us, it's all about how can we support local sports teams? Can we support the schools, the teachers, an education foundation, the PTA, things like that? And that's really what we're aiming for. So Scotch Plains is currently slated for the biggest donation as of right now. Cool. Westfield has some coming soon as well. Once we finish North Cottage, if you guys haven't swung by, my shameless plug, 160 North Cottage. Okay.
Maybe we drop some photos of stuff here as we're talking, because I think people are definitely going to want to see what we're talking about when we're mentioning these things. That home is almost done. You guys are more than welcome. Oh, wow. Come I want to see it. Yeah, do a walkthrough. I'll pretend to buy it.
The owners are currently away, so they'll come towards the end of the month. Okay. And that's when the closing will take place. So we have some wiggle room in between the time. We're going to get it staged. Nice. We like to stage all our properties. So a lot of people, when they're buying our homes, we always ask for about a week or two leeway. We can stage the homes, do our marketing stuff, move everything. Because again, a lot of times, and that's all based on experience, where we were just building them and selling them, building them and selling them. And people were like, well, what have you built before? We're like, well, we built this. And they're like, you have pictures? I'm like, nope. And we're like, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Right? So we got that idea. Again, we reached out to a builder I believe they're in South Carolina, like Properties, do amazing work. And we reached out to their marketing team. Well, Alan did, who runs our marketing team. Reached out to their marketing director and said, hey, how are some of these concepts? How do you guys come up with them? How do you get all these homes staged, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of explained, hey, we asked the homeowners if we can have a week to 2 weeks of an additional time frame at the end of the project to stage it, do all our marketing, remove everything, and then they can
Wow, very cool.
So we took that. Again, we're always learning. We don't know everything. And honestly, we just watch and adapt, because you got to adapt.
Always. So, okay. So you've been in the game for a while now, and obviously you're also a boss, a leader, and a friend, to your team. So, like, what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned, especially post-pandemic? I think, like, you've been doing this long enough. What's something that changed during the pandemic that has really changed how you do business now?
Oh, wow.
I know.
What hasn't changed since the pandemic? Listen, a lot of people got caught with their pants down, for the lack of better terms, especially in the real estate industry, builders specifically. So there's a couple of things. Balance sheet is probably one of the most important things. Listen, I'm going to be frank. If it wasn't for us having a rental portfolio, we don't necessarily know where we would be today, right? And we 100% for sure would not be talking 9-11 projects this upcoming year.
Wow.
We wouldn't be anywhere near that. So we wouldn't be talking discussions of buying, old schools and old buildings and rebuilding them into residential, not in this immediate area. So don't worry, we're not going to build these big buildings on you guys over here. And monitoring your cash flows, number one. Number two, minding your business. And again, I don't mean that in the sense of mind your business, it's not your business. It's more of pay attention to your business. Be so in depth in the knowledge and understanding of your business and how it operates. A lot of builders got caught off guard with the inflation of materials. Yeah. Right? And you're talking about builders buying things one year, building it the next year, and selling it at the end of that year. Well, when you do your analysis 2 years prior, you're never going to assume that COVID is going to skyrocket lumber the way it did. Yeah. Right. So being a little bit more aware, and you're never going to solve for those anomalies. Being more aware and never having all your eggs in one basket is a great way to offset, potential tragedy. Yeah. At the end of the day, from an epidemic or an anomaly like that.
Right. Oh man, what a time. Sometimes I just catch myself thinking about it once in a while with the restaurant and just how I always tell people, I was telling someone yesterday, I'm like, the first year wasn't even bad. 2020 was fine. It was the 2021, the 2022 that really, I think, hit all of us a little bit harder.
It was the lag. It was the lag that came behind it. I think everybody was under the impression that once we got over the masks and figuring all that out and the safety concerns and things of that nature, that was the solve, and it wasn't. It was just the beginning.
The aftermath. I'm like, I know for you it was lumber, for me it was chicken. It went from $40 a case to $200 a case. I sent my wife to Restaurant Depot one time because I was sick, and she was literally fighting grown men for the last case of chicken breast. It was nuts, man. It was a wild time. And
when I was in high school, my dad owned a barbecue right in town where I was in high school, and in that high school you were allowed to leave.
Wait, where?
Kearney.
Yeah, but what barbecue shop?
It was Alves Barbecue.
Oh, no way!
So
that's so
in
funny.
Kearney, obviously, you're allowed to leave school and go out to eat lunch and then come back. So you're not forced to eat the school lunch, which I thought was a great concept.
Right.
Would never work in our. They would never go back to school. Just calling it for what it is.
We grew up in Newark, by the way. For those wondering where the old hood is, it's Newark, New Jersey.
We would call that half days.
Right.
If we were out to go, able to go out to lunch. And so my wife actually brought up the idea of, by where we currently live, which is the Madison, Florham Park, Chatham area, there is no Portuguese barbecue over there. Right? So we're like, hey, maybe an opportunity here. And I told her, I said, listen, I think I have enough on my plate. This would be all
right
you.
now, right.
But then we started discussing about the prices of chicken and things like that, right?
Even
really when you go to a barbecue, they're like, when did chicken become $18 for this? And it used to be $11.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, inflation. I'm like,
yeah, man.
There's no other solve for it. It's just inflation.
Right. It's just a rough time right now.
It is, and then the chickens get sick, and then all this other
and then
stuff
they got to kill all the
happens.
chickens. Chicken flu, yeah.
Listen, there's just certain things you're never going to plan for, but as long as you're minding your business, and that could be as simple as mind your expenses.
Right, as best you can.
Right, on a day-to-day basis, I don't think people understand. Right, and this is minuscule. How much they spend, how many there's all these subscription things that pop up on Instagram, right? How many subscriptions do you have? Download this app to find out. And everybody laughs, but I bet you if they downloaded it, they probably subscriptions that they're paying. It's probably an ex-boyfriend that has a subscription active on their credit card, right? So it's honestly just minding your business holistically. I think that's everything. Whether it's investment, whether it's the last dollar in the bank, whether it's the first dollar, whatever. Mind your business, and you can ultimately get through any of the challenging times. You will have to adapt and adjust, and work may change, and life may change temporarily. But as a business, I think that minding our cash, being aware, understanding the costs of everything, buffering just in case, the oh shoot money is what we call it. Not exactly that, but we'll say oh shoot.
It's the oh shit. Everything but F-bombs on the show. You're safe.
Great. So oh shit money. And in terms of, from the realtor aspect, it's not much different. It's honestly, when you're talking about being a real estate agent, what people need to understand, or even agents need to understand, it's not so much about you and what you produce. It's the people who you're helping at the end of the day, right? Everybody's situation is completely different. Their motivation and their reason for selling or buying is completely different. So there's not a one-size-fits-all approach, right? But you have to be very adaptable and be able to adjust and understand what's to come. And that comes from education, obviously. So the more you
lots of
educate yourself.
Experience, totally. And now, there's no excuse, right? There's so much education. There's so many great people, even like yourself, creating content to teach other people, because it's, that's the best part about being good at what you do as time goes on, is, passing on knowledge and mentoring.
You have to invest in yourself, though. I think a lot of people struggle with investing. They'll invest in everybody else and everything else, right? Their friends will come up with a business, they'll invest in it, but they'll never invest in themselves. They'll never take time to educate themselves, to take the courses, to buy equipment, to support what they're anything that in terms of investing in themselves, they look as a bill. They don't look at it as an investment, right? So I take enough time. I'm seller representative certified by NAR, right? I'm ABR. I'm doing real estate negotiation expert. that stuff takes time and it takes money.
Yeah.
But it's an investment in me so I can better understand, right? So I'm not going to get out negotiated
Right.
by the other realtor, right? Like
Right,
at the end of the day, right? It's just another tool in my arsenal.
That's it, dude.
So invest in yourself, and yes, it's going to cost money, but
Right.
listen, if we're really thinking about money, how much more money could you make if you invested in yourself and gained these skill sets that you didn't have yesterday?
Right. No, I mean, I'm in the same boat always about it, right? Like investing as much as you can, because people don't, it's hard to do it when you feel like you don't have anything to invest. But now in 2024, I mean, there's free information everywhere. You could just study, you know, like back in the day, hundreds of years ago, everyone was just an apprentice. Like you didn't go to school, you know, you could always just learn as much as you can.
When our parents were around, Google and YouTube didn't exist, right? So the people that really wanted to learn actually had to go like, and again, I'm not saying that you're not learning, but there's so many conflicting things online, but even something as simple as YouTube. Like if I wanted to set up a podcast,
right.
Do you think I can YouTube?
How do you think I did all of this, Hugo?
That's what I'm saying, right? So it's free, it's out there. There's people creating content and offering the information based on their experiences. If you're not willing to invest in yourself,
right.
It doesn't even require monetary money. It's a download of a free app.
Right.
Then
that's it. And people like us only want to work with and associate with people who are also doing that work. Because you can tell, man, like straight up, like people who are not working on themselves, like eventually you just, you know, I don't want to say blow past them, but you start growing, and then you're just like, you want to go back to being around people who are going to continue to help you to grow and are just, you know, just driven and, you know, mindset oriented. And yeah, at least that's the world I'm living in these days. And it's not always easy, you know, but that's what it is, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and understanding your circle is always going to change.
Yeah.
Right. Because as you progress, that circle, that sphere of influence now needs to
circle
change.
Circle of trust.
Right, circle of trust, right? It does need to, it's funny that you said that because I was in a fantasy football league, which I won, by the way. It was called the Circle of Hate.
Congrats. That's really funny.
They told me that I wasn't invited to come back next year.
Who's your team?
Like the actual team that I enjoy?
Oh, no, you're like actual NFL. Oh, no. Are you a Cowboy fan?
I am a
you look like a Cowboy fan. This weird
Cowboy fan
cluster of Jerseyans who are Cowboy fans. I've had someone explain it to me before. It's like I guess when we were younger, they were winning, and everyone liked the blue and the gold and the star.
That's what it was. When I first came to this country, my parents came here before I did, and when I first came to this country, my dad was watching sports. That's what he watched. He watched Dallas Cowboys.
That's so funny.
And I was like, great. I like the Dallas Cowboys, I guess. Right? Ironically, they were winning-ish around that time. And then it stuck. So my fantasy football team is the Dak Street Boys.
On that note, Hugo, tell everybody where they could find you on Instagram, your email, the websites. Tell them everything.
Yeah, I mean, listen, so websites, PrawdZikProperties.com. It's spelled PRAWDZIK Properties.com. On all the social media platforms, at Hugo Sells NJ or at Prawdzik Properties. My cell phone number is 908-456-8259.
Call him. Everybody call him right now.
And my email, right? I actually put my phone on airplane mode.
Well, let's check it, because right before we recorded, you said you had 60-something text messages. You wanted to see what you had after. Let's see what that number is. This guy's busy, man. I was very lucky to get him on the show. So let's see. Let's see. So lucky. You made time for me.
Let me take off my airplane mode.
Westfield and surrounding areas. Let's see what the number is.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm happy we got to do this, honestly.
It was great having you, man.
I'm glad that people enjoy what they're seeing. So
I appreciate what you're doing for the community too. It's really great. How are we
I only got 19 new messages, so I'm at 98.
All right.
98 texts.
Well, we're gonna let Hugo go check his 98 text messages. Bye, y'all.
Take care.